All right, it's 6 p.m. I'm going to call the Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Let's begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is a reminder that this meeting is being recorded by MCTV. We will kick off tonight's meeting with our town administrator report. Mr. Moresco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last time we got together, Monday, September 27th, we had a meeting with Bill Grafton to go over the CPC application that Bill was putting in on some projects that we're working on together. We had a meeting with Treasurer Collector and with former Chief Sullivan to talk about updates on getting the vaccine clinic up and running at the fairgrounds. I did a walkthrough for the State of the Town address, and we had our Selectmen's meeting on. We also that week had sexual harassment training put on by our HR department for all of our employees and managers. We had the weekly owner, architect, and contractor meeting on the police project. We have that once a week. We had budget hearing with DPW, their second budget hearing for the FY23 budget. I had a Plymouth County Zoom on KIAs and ARPA funds with Plymouth County and Treasurer O'Brien. And I had a meeting on the Martinson Elementary roof project with Michael Frenette from No Fossil Fuel. And that evening, we interviewed two of the candidates for accountant's position. Also had the Federal Grant Writers webinar. We had Lobster Fest after the fact meeting. Also participated in the federal portal, signing up for federal grants and money. Had weekly update meeting with Fred Russell on ongoing projects at Town Hall, the schools, the playgrounds, etc. And also had a meeting with Mary Murphy. She was in to talk about some of the issues down in Brant Rock and upcoming on the big article. They have some funding in there to work on some further improvements, which she talked about. Also had a meeting with Kerry Richardson and other members of the Marshfield Housing Authority, and we talked about ways that we can work more collectively together, not only with the town, but with the housing partnership to create some additional senior affordable housing, et cetera, as we move forward. Had a meeting with Sue Karen, talk about some open space. Had a meeting with Craig Hannafin to talk about some ongoing conservation issues. And had an interview and meeting with Joe Fleming. And the next week, the week of October 4th, had a meeting with Anne Marie Sennett to go over some budget articles and issues that she had. I had a weekly meeting with PMA, our project manager, to look at some of the issues coming up that we'd be dealing with the DPW project and the police project. Also had a meeting, we had the weekly owner's architect and construction meeting on the police project itself, and anyone going by there will see that they began the stonework, so it's another step in the right direction. We're excited. The windows are there and they're going in later this week, and the roofing materials finally all arrived last week, and they'll be putting the roofing material all on with the hope of having that building weather tight by mid-November, which is a good move. I wasn't able to participate in North River Boat Tour, but select person Kilcoyne filled in for me. I had a weekly meeting with Fred Russell on some updates regarding some projects that are ongoing at our municipal buildings. I had a meeting, Rob Corley from the Veterans House came in to just give me an update on the project. It's moving along. It's just about all done. They're waiting for windows. Like all the other projects, it's been hard to get supplies, but he was very complimentary on all the unions that were working in that building, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, etc. He couldn't say enough nice things because, you know, one of the biggest things when you have a fire is waiting to collect on the insurance money. And the workers were so committed to that project that they began working before the money even started to flow back in, so.
That's fantastic.
He talked about that, how great it's, looking forward to the ribbon cutting on Veterans Day, so we had that. I did a phone call with Ernest Casey on the Munis project. We bumped it out a couple of weeks, no additional charge to us. We made some adjustments on moving forward, so we're working on that. And then we had some further meetings with Joe Fleming and Danielle Kerrigan on some ongoing personnel issues. And I wanted to update everyone just very quickly also on the clinic. And the booster clinic preparations are in progress. We had the 2 sheds placed on location. The office trailer is being delivered, and security cameras have been installed. We've had to do some safety on the road areas because it's a little muddy in the new area we were at, so we've had to add some crushed stone. Because there's no governor's executive order, we had to go out for procurement on all of the service that we needed. We open up everything and award on the 25th. And pretty much everyone is ready. Our goal is to be open on October 28th. So people can mark their calendars as we get closer. I'll be putting out a PSA reminding people they can do the drive-through to get their boosters or their first and second shot. We will be doing it all there. That is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Any questions? Anything? Great. Yeah, just wanted to say I drove by the Veterans Home yesterday, and it's looking very good. I see the landscaping, it's all coming together, it looks like. So it's a testimony to everybody who stepped up, like you said, many different facets of it, the step up to make this hit the mark on Veterans Day after that terrible fire. So it's really cool.
Okay. And it's going to be open. They're going to be giving tours, so it's going to be great. After we do the ribbon cutting, a few speeches, and then the building will be open. People will be able to walk through it, and they have new veterans. They started with the list. They go through the list. The people that were originally going there may have gotten other locations. If not, then they'll have first dibs on getting in there, and then other veterans that qualify would be able to get in there. And I'm going to be reaching out to Cindy Castro to see what she wants to get set up, because people will be walking through the whole complex. And as everyone knows, the Historic Commission has that room at the back where they can keep their collections, have a meeting, et cetera. So it's exciting. They're doing the landscaping this week. You'll be seeing sod go in the front because they want it to look really nice in the front, and they're hydro seeding the rest of it. They've got the driveway in. Some of the early plantings are in already, so.
Excellent. All right, great. All right, so our first appointment tonight is with Kathy Sullivan for an update on South Shore Irish Heritage Trail. Ms. Sullivan, if you'd like to come up. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
As a part Irish American, I'm very excited about this project, and I've been around it a little bit. Some friends of mine have been around it as well, and obviously Senator O'Connor and others, and Mr. Darcy and others.
Yes.
So it's exciting to hear about this, so thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm a member of the Historical Commission, and last fall, right about this time, the Board of Selectmen, Mike Moresco, got a letter from the group that was setting up the Irish Trail, and they passed it over to the Historical Commission to kind of run with, and it became my little project. We started talking about it last November at our first meeting after the letter arrived, and over the course of December, January, February, different members of the commission reached out to people they knew, either Cynthia Crucell, the Historical Society, the Webster Estate, the Chamber of Commerce. We did Facebook in the spring, and in the end, we determined that Marshfield does not have any locations to put on the trail, unlike some other towns. I communicated that in several ways, verbally and emails and so forth, to members of the Global Committee, and they essentially did not accept my answer. So they reached out then to the Webster Estate because Daniel Webster had given a speech on the famine when he was in Washington, D.C. And Barbara Carney is here with me from the Webster Board, and the Webster estate did not feel, because Daniel Webster gave a speech, that the Webster estate here should be on the Irish Trail. There really was no real link, just because the subject was the famine. We then got additional emails and so forth from the overall Irish Trail Committee, and Steve and I got a letter from the chairman saying that they had decided that we would put Daniel Webster on the trail with his gravesite. And essentially, that's where it stands right now. There's a meeting coming up this coming week over in Situate, and we then will be asked to come up with $1,000 this coming spring, and that will be to build the website, to maintain the website, to create brochures, and there'll be drafts of these things available, I guess, at next week's meeting. So one of the things I wanted to get a sense of from you is whether the Historic Commission should be putting in a town meeting warrant article for the money for a spring town meeting. And I don't know if it would be regular town meeting or a special town meeting, but I'm sure Mr. Maresco will guide me through that. But as I say, they're very disappointed in me particularly because I can't cough up a building or a location or a monument or anything. And they don't want to have this map, show start with Situate, then have a big blob in the middle that's Marshfield with nothing on it, and then go to other towns. What we had agreed on the commission to do was maybe have them start without us, and if we decided later we had a place or something to put on, then we would, be an add-on later, but they don't wish to accept that as a starting place. So that's a short version of what's gone on in the last few months. I've tried to keep Mr. Maresco involved or apprised of my progress or lack thereof. But I didn't know if you had any questions or if you have any direction for me.
So this meeting next week, I have it on my calendar. I'm gonna plan on attending.
Okay.
Because I think it's very important, and I believe Mr. Darcy's planning. I don't know if Mr. Coyne.
Okay.
But and everyone, they're welcome to. Is this meeting specifically to kind of just get all the towns that are influenced by this and then the others that, like Patrick O'Connor and maybe Patrick Kearney and others that are over the entire South Shore area, just to kind of bring everyone together to decide on things and what this is going to really look like and what each town.
I think it's a progress meeting, to show what they've done so far and where they plan to go in the future. I know nothing more than the meeting notice that came out, and they did invite the Western World, I think, to
Yes.
that meeting,
It does seem like they're bringing everyone together and encouraging.
Right, I don't know how many are really going to be there or something, but, they have a core committee group that has
Okay.
been meeting. So I know all of them will be there, and I RSVP'd and told them I would be there.
Excellent.
So,
Great.
yep.
Do you have any? You're involved in this. You've been involved in this. I have a lot of questions, but.
Yeah, we appreciate all your hard work in research. I know it's tough. We couldn't find a site in Marshfield that had a strong connection and a strong link. Appreciate all your hard work and look forward to kind of getting together for a progress update next week.
Okay.
Yeah, I reiterate, history is history, right? So that's what you found. I think we'll look for the update on the 20th. I will try to make it to that meeting. I'm very interested in maybe what comes out of it.
Right.
And if it moves forward, we'll let the citizens of the town decide whether they want to fund that.
So you do want me to go ahead with the town meeting article?
What I would recommend, and you guys can, we don't need to make a vote on this or anything tonight. What I would recommend is that you attend that meeting on the 20th and gather more information. And then what I think we could do is have you back in November and give us an update from that meeting. Obviously, if we attend, we'll kind of know what's going on, but it would be nice for the public meeting.
Sure.
To come back and give us an update on where Marshfield is, where we're falling in this thing, and what the money, what the need would be. I mean, $1,000 seems like a pretty reasonable amount of money to be a part of history or historic trail.
Right.
But, you know, again, there could be other need that pops up or what have you. And so ideally, I mean, we would get with Mr. Moresco and get on a date for November and come back at your schedule, at your leisure, and give us an update, public update about that.
Certainly, not a problem, whatever you
I do
want.
think it's interesting that Marshfield is considered part of the Irish Riviera and that we're having a hard time finding Irish history.
Well, I mean, I think the ones that came to Marshfield were like working people.
Sure.
You know, they weren't building buildings or whatever, you know, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we know we have a lot of Irish people,
Sure.
but they were working, you know, so.
And I do think that the connection to Daniel, this is just my personal, and not to go down a rabbit hole with personal opinion, but Daniel Webster's influence in Washington and as one of the greatest statesmen that ever lived during the time of the Irish famine when many Irish had to leave Ireland to frankly survive, and they ended up in Boston and the South Shore. I do think that influence and his influence on the president at that time is worthy of history. So that's just my 2 cents. So.
Yep. Well, that's where it stands, and you know where to reach me and so forth. So,
Excellent.
yes. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, it is 6:16. We have the next item up is we have our first town accountant interview with Elizabeth Ann Bastille. Yes. Good evening, how are you?
Good, how are you?
It's so weird because normally we have our no masks because we're at town hall normally, and for the public, if they're wondering why we're meeting at the school administration building, is this meeting was set after the fact, after another group took our meeting room, so it was already posted, so we needed to post here, and it's kind of cool to be in a historical building like this, but with no masks, it's a little hard to see people and know we're smiling and not frowning, so it's all good. So just, I don't know if you know, this is Mr. Steve Darcy. He's the vice chair of the committee. Our names are right here. I'm the chair, Chris Rowland, and this is our clerk and member, James Kilcoyne. We're going to ask you a series of questions. These questions have been predetermined, and we will ask each candidate being interviewed for this position. As you're aware, this is the final interview for the position of the town accountant for the town of Marshfield. This meeting is being conducted by the Select Board, the appointing authority for this position, and with the assistance of our town administrator, Michael Moresco, and Human Resources, Danielle Kerrigan. As I understand it, you have been informed that this meeting is being held in open session, which means that the press or members of the public could be present, and they are some of them are watching this on video right now. That said, they will not be allowed to interject into the interview so that we may get to as many questions as possible, and when a decision of the board is made, you will be notified immediately. If you do not have any questions regarding this procedure, we will begin. Any questions?
I'm all set.
All right. So just, I mean, we've seen your resume and been able to review that. Why don't you just give us, tell us about your professional background, focusing on your experiences that you feel make you qualified for this position.
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I started in the banking industry when I was 18. So I worked in the financial industry all around the country until 2010. At that time, I got my bachelor's degree in accounting, and I started working for an advertising firm in Louisville, Kentucky. I worked there for 4 years as the lead accountant. I also did their payroll. In 2014, I moved here. My husband is military. He's retired from the military, and so he moved here, and I followed him. I worked as a tax accountant for the first year in Plymouth. I was laid off from that position and then worked as an accountant, the lead accountant at a marina in Chatham for the next 2. The assistant to the town accountant and finance director position opened up then in 2014, or 2017, and I applied for that and received the position. So I've been in municipal accounting for 4 years.
Excellent.
Anne, welcome. Could you please tell us what you know about the town of Marshfield and its financial picture?
It's a great community. You have wonderful financial policies. I did read your fiscal policy. It's conservative, but allows growth for the community. Your budget process is, I'm a little bit nervous, sorry.
It's all good. Take it easy. Just.
Your budget is healthy. Your capital program is healthy. I looked at I did a lot of reading over the last couple of days just to kind of refresh. I did it for my first one, and then I refreshed for this one. So you guys are in a really great fiscal position. I understand that your free cash is higher than ever, which is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. By the way, welcome. I know we met outside,
Thank
but
you.
welcome again. So just take it easy and don't worry things. Coming into any new position, there's always challenges. Based upon what you know about the position from talking to people and the town of Marshfield, I know you've done a fair amount of background work on that. What do you feel might be one of your biggest challenges coming in if you got the position?
Honestly, I feel my biggest challenge is learning the people that I'm working with. I feel like everybody reacts differently to criticism, praise, correction, direction. And so you have to learn the people that you work with and understand how they best understand how you're talking to them and what you're saying to them. I could say one thing one way to one person and they would get it, and then say the same thing to another person and they would look at me cross-eyed like, I don't understand what you're saying. So you just really have to know your audience and understand how to deal with people on an individual level.
Thank you very much. I personally, I came out of the sales side of business background, so it was always about interpersonal skill sets, interpersonal relationships, and being attuned to that really clearly makes things move smoother. Thank you.
And could you please describe how you view the main duties of the town accountant and then any experience you can draw on that would help you succeed in that role?
The main duties of the town accountant are to monitor the budget process, to make sure that the individual departments don't overspend their budget. We also monitor the capital projects. Those obviously cannot be overspent. There's cash reconciliation. There's a receivable reconciliation. There's the town warrant process, which is extensive. The experience that I have, I do process the receivables, so I balance those on a monthly basis for the town of Falmouth. I also process the deposits, so any cash receipts that come in, I review those first before they go to the town accountant. Make sure the account numbers are correct, all the numbers are right, everything has the right backup. As a team, we process the warrant on a weekly basis. My current assistant processes the school and the town bills, and then I process the school bills on the second half of that, and the town accountant processes the town bills. So it's a team effort. If one of us is out, the other one picks up and does the remainder of the work. I have been an acting town accountant whenever she's on vacation, or while the town accountant doesn't do this in Falmouth, as an assistant to the finance director, I assist in putting the budget together from start to finish. So I start with the worksheets, they go out to the departments, they send them back, and then when I sit in the budget meetings, with the department heads, and then we put the budget together for the finance committee, and then I attend the finance committee meetings, and then we put it into the warrant book, and then the warrant book goes out to the town meeting, and then I go to town meeting to finish out that process. So I follow that from start to finish, the capital program as well.
Thank you.
Great. Realize looks like my microphone's running out of battery, so just anybody with that. Please describe a time when you had a disagreement with your treasurer, collector, finance director in regards to operation and how a task should be executed at work and how you handled it. Would you handle it differently today? Probably a two-part question.
Yeah, it's a two-part question. I can say that I've had disagreements with the finance director in the past. I mean, not everybody does everything the way somebody else wants it done. And I can tell you at first, I was defensive, but when I have time to think about it and go over what I did and how I did it, and if I find that I have done something in error, I'm the first person to go to her and admit, I'm sorry, this was my mistake. How do we fix it? How do we rectify it? So.
Do you have maybe a specific instance that you were in disagreement with?
I made a few mistakes with the warrant book. There was, let's see, the date and time was incorrect when I went to the paper. Headers, like headers on the, not changing the headers. I've taken those out of the document now, so I don't have to worry about it. The key is learning from, what you've done wrong and making sure that you don't repeat the process.
That's fine. I mean, that's fine.
I can't give you,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I don't dwell on those things.
It's
but-
probably a good thing that nothing stands out too because, there's going to be disagreements in business and in life, and you just have to, work through, like you said, if you're going to work together, you build consensus and work, get things done right, so together, so, cool.
So I appreciate your honest feedback, and I can see you reflecting and trying to think about a good exemplification. This is kind of like a follow-up to that, staying on the same theme. So I know in your past positions, you'd worked with a lot of independent auditors, as well as maybe town administrators, town management, and you've gotten feedback from management. Perhaps you could describe maybe or a few of those comments and then how they would be addressed?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's the darn mask.
No.
I will speak up. So in your past position, you've worked with a lot of independent auditors, including town administrators, management, within the town. Perhaps you could describe how those comments were relayed to you and how they might be addressed. If nothing comes to your mind in particular, feel free to give a hypothetical that would represent really, how you'd like to move forward should something come up.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Is it how people view
It's kind of
me?
like past relationships, past issues, things that might have come up,
Okay.
and then how you worked on addressing them.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like just retroactive, whenever we all know that everything doesn't always go smoothly, so
Right.
an exemplification of the past and how it worked out.
Every office has its personality conflicts. I would like to think that our particular office doesn't have all that many. We get along very well, but there are times when we disagree on a subject and, we end up talking it out, and we'll come to a mutual resolution on it, whether it, goes in one person's direction or the other, or we meet in the middle and we find a rectifiable solution to whatever the problem is.
Thank you, do appreciate it.
And could you describe your past experience working with the town administrator and the board of selectmen in developing a budget?
Pretty much what I was talking about before. So I work very closely with the finance director to put the budget together. And like I mentioned before, we start at the beginning and we pull the previous fiscal year's appropriation and expenditures. We put that into a document, and then the current fiscal year's appropriations go into the document, and it all goes into a spreadsheet, and then it goes out to the departments. We also do a projected payroll, which includes payroll that has all of the settled contracts. We don't build in COLAs unless they're getting a step. We have a separate article for that expenditure. So it goes out to the departments. Departments have a time when they have to submit them. They get submitted, and then I go in and clean them up, make sure that they look appropriate. And then I schedule meetings with the finance director, the town administrator, and the assistant town administrator with all the department heads. So I manage that schedule. We have all the meetings, and then once those meetings are done, the finance director will put the budget together. And once the budget is together, then it goes to the select board, and the select board will review it and vote on it. When it goes to the select board, we actually put a binder together for them, and it's separated by like general government, DPW, it's separated out, and then the departments are all separated out. So each select board member gets a binder that they can review. They get it before Christmas so they can review it over the Christmas holiday, and then they vote the first meeting in January. And then it goes to the finance committee where they schedule their meetings to discuss the budget. Again, I attend all those meetings, so if they make a change, I know what the change is and I can make a note of it. And then once the finance committee has finished voting, then it goes into the warrant. Then the warrant goes into the paper. The select board votes the warrant, it goes into the paper, and then we do recommendations and explanations, and then it goes to the printer, and then it goes to town meeting.
Thank you.
Right, pretty much the whole process.
That was perfect. Thank you.
So, Elizabeth, can you explain your authority to act in these levels? Your authority on your own? When do you need to consult the finance director? And then in what situations would you need to seek out the Board of Selectmen and/or the town administrator?
So I am not afraid to ask questions. So if I don't know the answer, I will absolutely go to the town accountant or the finance director and ask questions. It is my own policy that the town accountant or the finance director should be the one to talk to the town administrator unless there's some catastrophic breakdown in communication. That person is my boss, and they're a department head, and they're the one that should go to the town administrator, to the select board. Never had a problem with that. Both the town accountant and the finance director in Falmouth are more than willing to listen to anything that I have, and if it needs escalation, we'll absolutely take it to the town administrator and the select board.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think how I want to phrase this. This one kind of goes to chain of control, to help you give a frame of reference for the question. When you're managing cash funds, could you describe the management of cash funds and your communication with banks, and then how security has been handled?
So are we talking about receiving cash?
Yes.
Okay, so the collector treasurer takes all payments for taxes. The clerk obviously takes all their payments for dog licenses, marriage licenses. So those departments take in all the cash. And then if it's so the clerk would take their cash and checks to the town collector, and they record them. And it goes on to a 910 form, which is what comes to our office. We don't handle cash or checks in our office. So that comes to our office, and then once I get the deposit record from the treasurer, she enters them into the system. Once I get the deposit record from the treasurer, then I go through the 910 forms with the report from the accounting system to make sure everything matches up, that I have all the correct backup for the deposit, if backup is needed, that departments are using the correct account numbers. And once that's rectified, then I post all the deposits. So, and then they go to the town accountant, and then she reviews all of them just to make sure.
Okay, great, yeah, that's what I was trying to get, a chain of control and how you handle it and how you handle it in the future. Thank you.
How do you view the role of technology in the accounting process? Describe any situations where you have utilized more efficient technological tools to assist your job, like Munis. Do you have any experience with Munis, or what systems does Falmouth use?
Falmouth has SoftWrite. We have MMS for our tax systems, and then we have SoftWrite Online for our accounting system. We've got multiple systems. We've got Vadar for our water. We have, I'm trying to think what else we have. We have a different mooring system. We have several. I'm a technology person, so I'm not afraid of technology. I think especially with accounting systems and when they're industry driven, that they're much the same across the board. They might look different, they might have different modules, but they all perform the same function. So I'm just a technology person, but I also use Excel a lot. I'm an Excel person as well. I could get lost in an Excel spreadsheet for hours and, and wake up. I use Excel for a lot. We also have converted a lot of our files to PDF. Prior to my being hired, we kept a lot of like the payroll records in paper format. And when I started doing the payroll, we started digitizing it all. It's all in a file, it's all in a PDF, so that we don't have to keep all that paper. As well with COVID, we had to go even more digital because, our departments are all spread out. So under normal circumstances, we require original documents, say for warrants or for payroll signatures or what have you. But because of COVID, everybody was all spread out, so we started allowing departments to submit things by email through PDF. And so that worked out very well. We've gone back to original documents for some things, but for other things, we've decided that it's much more efficient to just accept it in PDF format and store it that way. Efficient on our end because I don't have to scan it all and put it in a file. Efficient on their end because they don't have to bring it to the office, especially if they're at a different location than the town hall.
Great, thank you.
Could you describe any experience or exposure you have with enterprise funds?
Falmouth does not have enterprise funds. I understand what they are and how they work. We're required to study it for the test, for the certification test. So I do understand how they work as far as, revenues and indirect costs and those things. Like I said, I have no experience with them, but I do understand the basic concept of them.
Thank you.
Well, you'll definitely enjoy our enterprise funds.
I'm looking forward to it.
So how has GASB changes impacted your municipal accounting process in recent years?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How has GASB changes impacted municipal accounting processes in recent years?
Well, I know they release bulletins regarding governmental accounting standards. I don't have a lot of exposure to GASB as far as trying to think how to phrase this. I do a lot of educational classes, so we've got all the rules for governmental accounting, municipal accounting. I go to as many classes as possible. I couldn't give you a specific instance where GASB has changed something. I'm not as familiar with it as I probably should be, but.
Okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. I was just wondering if something popped into your head, and that's a fine answer. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Can you describe your experience using the Uniform Massachusetts Accounting System, UMass? Not the university, the other one, UMAS.
UMass.
Chart of accounts?
I know that the chart of accounts is pretty specific. There's certain numbers for certain departments. There's fund numbers. So you've got your general fund, which is 01, and then you've got revenues, which are the 4,000s. You've got expenses, which are the 5,000s. Our articles are 6,000. I don't know if that's how everybody else does it or not. Falmouth tends to be a little bit different. We came from we called it Top Gun, and it was built specifically, it was a DOS system that was built specifically for the town. And so we didn't move over to MMS until 2014. So all that stuff had to come over, and there were so our conversion isn't quite the same, but I know that, you have grants, you have state grants, you have federal grants, you have special revenue funds. All that stuff has specific numbers as far as, the 210, 240, 250. Those are the fund numbers. So I understand how all that works.
Thank you.
Could you tell us about any experience you have with federal and state grants?
I don't set up the grants, but I do, again, we keep all of the grants in our office. So we have, grants that the school gets a lot of grants, and then our police department, we have our fire department, MES, they all get a lot of grants. Conservation, we have a giant DER grant right now for the Coonamessett Gateway, which has been managed. It's managed by conservation, but we monitor that on a regular basis. A lot of the grants are reimbursable, so they give you a limit, they give you a budget. You have to set it up in the accounting system with that budget if they give you a budget. If it's reimbursable, you just have to know what the full reimbursable amount is so that they don't overspend the grant.
Thank you.
So I noticed in your resume, you've worked both in public and private. What attracts you to the public sector?
That's a very good question.
Thank you. I like to ask questions. They're different, but they're the same, sort of.
Yeah, I don't, to me, it's accounting. I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's what I got. I mean, I have both my degrees from the University of Louisville, and accountancy is what I want to do. So whether I do it in the public sector or the private sector, it's still accounting, and I just really like accounting. I don't think I chose.
Who doesn't?
I don't really think I chose a municipal job because it was different. Just because it was an opportunity to do something.
More of a career path than because accounting is accounting.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
I mean, obviously there's municipal. The private sector is a little bit different, but the general standards are still the same.
Thank you.
15.
15. You're in a different one. Interesting. Well, here, I'll just ask it. The town administrator, here's a scenario for you, okay? The town administrator comes to you inquiring about an overdue invoice. After discussing this matter with the department head, who is getting pressure from their vendor for payment, then you remember that you held the invoice up as you had some questions and concerns about this invoice. How do you respond to the town administrator?
With absolute honesty. You tell the town administrator that you held it up and that you had questions. It would be my error for not following up on those questions. We would try to get the invoice processed as quickly as possible from that point, but I would absolutely admit if I made the error.
Cool, thanks.
What steps would you take to ensure that the town is getting the best value for its purchases?
Like I indicated before, we have a dual process for the warrants. So the departments all process their own packets, and then the packets come to us, and then our assistant reviews them, and she points out anything that seems inappropriate. And then once she's reviewed them, approved them, then they get split up, and the town accountant and I both review the school and the town. So it goes through a very rigorous process. If there's a question about anything, absolutely we question it. If the procurement is huge, so we question procurement on a regular basis to make sure that they're procuring things properly in the right process.
Thank you.
So here's another scenario for you. Required Schedule A has to be completed soon after the end of the fiscal year, June. What steps would you take to ensure that this schedule is completed timely and that it is accurate?
So I'll start by saying that I have not yet done the Schedule A. I understand what it is and what goes into it, but I haven't done it. I believe that there are several parts to the Schedule A, and there are several departments that are involved in that. You've got the assessor, you've got the clerk, all of those people are involved in putting the Schedule A together. And so in order to get that done in a timely manner, just from observing how it works in Falmouth, I can tell you that you sometimes have to chase people down and make sure that they're doing their part. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Schedule A, a lot of people go on vacation during that time, so you really have to be on the ball and know when people are going to be gone and what their role is and make sure they get it done in a timely manner.
Great.
So maybe I'd close with that,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, and say, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, do you have any questions for us?
Not. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, just so I can line them up. I kind of messed us up, didn't it?
I just flipped it in mine so that I know you're doing it backwards. That's all. For some reason, they're backwards for him. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't have the right one. Here, I'll give you my copy. My copy doesn't have,
This one, green.
it should be 3-hole punched. It should be in your book.
Why did?
No?
I printed it out, so I could read it and prepare for it.
Oh,
So
she
maybe-
might have moved it after the fact.
So it might have been moved subsequent to that. So I'll use the one in the book, then, and
Yes.
we'll all be on the same one.
Yes.
That's fine by me.
It's not a,
Yeah, I printed it out earlier, and she just must have changed it.
I just didn't know.
No worries. No worries.
So
No worries.
our next appointment is Scott Curtis for the position of town accountant. Mr. Curtis, welcome. How are you tonight?
Doing all right yourself?
Good, good, good. So, welcome. We appreciate your interest in this position. I'm Chris Rowland. I'm the chairman of the Board of Selectmen here. This is Mr. Steve Darcy. He is the vice chairman, and this is Mr. Jim Kilcoyne. He is our clerk and member. We will ask you a series of questions. These questions have been predetermined and will be asked to each candidate being interviewed for this position. As you are aware, this is the final interview for the position of town accountant for the town of Marshfield. This meeting is being conducted by the Select Board, the appointing authority for this position, with the assistance of the town administrator, Mr. Michael Moresco, and our human resources, which is Daniel Kerrigan. As I understand it, you have been informed that this meeting is being held in open session, which means that the press or members of the public could be present. That said, they will not be allowed to interject into the interview so that we may get to as many questions as possible. When a decision of the board is made, you will be notified immediately. If you do not have any questions regarding this procedure, we will begin.
No questions.
Okay, great. So we've seen your resume and your background a little bit, but how about you tell us in your own words your professional background, focusing on your experiences that you feel qualify you for this position.
Sure. So I have over 20 years of experience in both accounting and finance. I've got, that includes private sector as well as municipal experience. When it comes to municipal experience, I have been an assistant town accountant as well as a treasurer collector, which kind of gives me, full aspect of the finance department in working in both those roles and understanding, the complexities that go along with each issues with each department. So I think that's kind of my municipal background. And when like I said, when I'm not working, I'm a volunteer hockey coach and soccer coach. So I'm filling up my times that that I do have free.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what you know about the town of Marshfield and its financial picture?
The financial picture, yeah, I mean, it looks extremely bright. I see that, free cash is way up at the end of the year, and it sounds like there's some strong fiscal policies in place already. I'm a big believer in the end-of-year spending. Where some people feel like it's in their budget, they need to use it, but if they don't need it, then there's really no need to use it. So when I see there's, a policy here that it should be enforced everywhere. You know, if you don't need it, don't buy it. You know, I personally treat the money for the town and wherever I work as if it's my own money. So, you know, you don't need to go on a big spending spree just because you have it within your budget. And the financial picture, you know, from what I've seen with the bond rating and all that, looks really bright for Marshfield.
Thank you.
First of all, thanks for coming in, to appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Based on what you know about this position, all right, and the town of Marshfield, what do you think might be the biggest challenges for you coming on board?
I think the biggest challenge coming on board is just, you know, the initial just getting situated. I believe Munis is something that's being newly rolled out here. I have a lot of experience in Munis. When I first started in Stoughton, they had actually just rolled out Munis, and I had previous experience using it in Somerville, so I actually, you know, sat with departments and trained a lot of the end users, you know, because they do provide training, but sometimes some things come up day to day that isn't, you know, expected, or so I spent a lot of time training, you know, departments, end users that would be using the program.
Thank you.
Could you describe your understanding of the main duties of the town accountant and what experience you feel will contribute to your success in this role?
I feel the main duties would be I spent a lot of time, you know, processing bills and warrants and filing all the reports with the Division of Local Services. So I think that it's really, the accountant has a strong duty to make sure that the money that's being spent is being spent legally, which is a big thing, and having the ability to tell someone that no, they can't spend something, or we can't pay an invoice because they haven't met their criterion. They haven't, you know, if they need to find bids, they didn't get bids, or there isn't the proper documentation. So I think as the trustee or the holder of the funds that, you know, come in the town, I know the treasurer collector manages the cash, but the accountant really has to make sure that what is being spent wisely, legally, and within, you know, the rules of the town, of what they have for policies.
Thank you.
So, Scott, please describe a time when you had a disagreement with the treasurer, collector, or finance director in regards to operation and how a task should be executed at work and how you handled it. And would you have handled it any differently today?
I don't think I have a lot of, I'm not a confrontational person, but if I don't agree with the way something's happened, and one of the, you know, when I worked in Stoughton, the treasurer was lacking on reconciling her cash to the bank. So it was something that I brought up, and, you know, I addressed it with her and said that, you know, this needs to be caught up, because in a previous community I worked in, same thing happened, and there was fraud that took place. So it's something that needs to, you know, that's, you know, cash needs to be reconciled to the bank, and it needs to be reconciled to the accountant to make sure that everybody's got the same numbers and is, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, you know, we met with it. I ended up helping her to get caught up, but, you know, I, you know, kind of headed, you know, straight on, saying that these are the things that need to be done, and we need to get there.
Thank you.
Yep. Would you be kind of pleased to describe your past experiences with independent auditors, including past management letters or comments from town administrators, something like that?
Sure. I've been involved in all sorts of audits, both fiscal audits, workers' comp audits, a forensic audit at one point. So I've had a lot of experience, you know, over my 20 years dealing with audits. And, you know, they take what's in the letter, and if there's a management letter, usually that's the focus on the goals for next year, to get those out of the management letter. So, you know, sometimes I don't have specific things that happen, but I know that we would always review the management letter and then address the items within that management letter to correct it going forward, so that it wasn't a reoccurring management letter item.
Thank you.
Explain your authority to act in these situations on your own. When do you need to consult the finance director? And what situations would you need to seek out the Board of Selectmen and/or town administrator?
You just trying me to name a situation where I would have to act on my own, or just?
Yeah, your authority. Like, what's your authority? What can you do on your own? Where do you need consultation with the director of finance, and when do you need to bring it up the chain to us and to Mr. Martin?
Sure. I mean, I think, you know, the day-to-day operations would be something that I would handle under my own. You know, processing bills, payrolls, you know, reviewing budgets, that sort of thing. Any type of if I notice something that I don't like, I would certainly bring it then, step it up to the finance director, and if I felt like it was going to be a bigger deal, then I would certainly notify the board so that no one's caught off guard by something that's happening, within the town. I don't want anybody to have a question posed to them and they not know what's happening or what's going on with any type of situation.
Thank you.
Can you describe your past experience working with a town administrator and the Board of Selectmen in developing a budget?
Sure. When I worked in Stoughton, we kind of formed, and also in Hanover, in Stoughton we formed kind of like a small budget committee. It was this town accountant, myself, and the auditor, and we worked, hand in hand with the town administrator in developing the budget. Prior to that, there was just kind of the town administrator did it, and he had someone just kind of keyed into Excel for him. But we kind of formed this committee to review, and we also had, at the time, we had a deficit that we had to handle, and we worked it out without the loss of any employees or anything like that. So that was, big that we got in, and, we had more eyes on the budget, so that's why we kind of formed the committee to look at the budget.
Thank you.
Would you kind of please describe how you manage cash funds and communication with banks and how security is handled?
How I would manage cash funds?
Yes.
Well, I'm a big, security when it comes to cash. That's my number one thing. When I first became a treasurer collector, I rewrote the cash handling policies for the town. They didn't really have any structured policies, but we kind of made sure that any department that, collected over $100 a day, they had to turn it in, and we had locked bags that each department had that they would count the money, someone else would count the money, they'd both sign off on it, and then they'd deliver it to the treasurer collector's office in a locked bag. Well, we had, a key to unlock all the bags, and then we'd count it in front of them and sign off on it. I believe, protecting the cash is huge for everybody involved. You roll out that policy, and some people didn't like it, but once you explain to them that it benefits them, you're protecting the town's fund, you're protecting them from any future actions, so it worked out fine. And always, communicating with the bank if I think something's missing or something that we, deposited should be there, isn't there. Always try to keep an open line of communication with someone at the bank.
Thank you.
Yep.
People hear me on TV, my microphone is dead. So just, you can hear me? Okay, I'll make sure. Yeah, just keep it there somewhere. Yeah. Awesome. All right, Scott, how do you view the role of technology in the accounting process? Describe any situations where you have utilized more efficient technological tools to assist your job. Munis, you've mentioned Munis, so that's...
Yeah, I think Munis is great in that, I've used SoftWrite also, but I think Munis is better for when you want to export data from the system, you get the true data that's out there instead of just, when I use SoftWrite, it was just hundreds of lines that were unnecessary. So I really, I love working in Excel, and pulling the data out of, Munis in my experience is very clean and very workable. So, and I think it helps, speed things up so you're not spending all your time trying to manipulate, a spreadsheet just to get to your opening data, but you have what you need kind of presented in front of you.
Thanks.
What experience or exposure do you have with enterprise funds?
I've worked, so when I was in Stoughton, they had a water and sewer enterprise fund. So I'm very familiar with, the charging of receipts and the balancing of receivables and making sure that, they can be self-sufficient and not need additional funding from any other funds.
Thank you.
How have GASB changes impacted the municipal accounting process in recent years?
I think the GASB changes, they're certainly trying to make things better or easier or, protect everybody who's involved in it. They're constantly changing. I don't know how they're out there to improve everybody's reporting and keep it the same. So I think that they're constantly making things better by changing things through suggestions and whatnot.
Thank you.
Scott, describe your experience using the Uniform Massachusetts accounting system, chart of accounts. Do you have any experience in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when Stoughton rolled out Munis, that was a big thing because their old system was really antiquated in the chart of accounts. It was there, but it was just backwards and things just didn't make sense. So I used that a lot when developing, the new accounts that we had to create within the new Munis system, which they had, just rolled out. They had a basic chart of accounts, but we needed to expand that once they got rolling.
Thanks.
Could you tell us about any experience you have with federal and state grants?
Yep. So I used to pull all so the grants would come into the town, and I would spend a lot of time making sure that they were spending it on what was appropriate in the grant, and then pulling the backup if it was a reimbursable grant, or if we already got the money, sending them the backup saying that, we spent it and we used it all and we used it legally, and sending them the information that was required for the grant. Yep.
Thank you.
Mine's kind of a little like role play here. The town administrator comes to you inquiring about an overdue invoice. After discussing the matter with the department head, was getting pressure from a vendor for payment. You remember you held up the invoice because you had some questions and concern regarding this invoice. How do you respond to the town administrator?
Well, you'll get from me is I'm 100% honest. If I put something on my desk and I went to get back to it and forgot it, I will tell them it's on me. It was sitting there, I had questions, and I missed going back on it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat something. I'm pretty much, a straight shooter when it comes to the information. If I screwed up, I own it, and we just try to move forward from there.
Okay, and if you didn't mess up, if you just truly had questions on it?
I would also just tell them that I was waiting to hear back on, the questions I had for the invoice. If I had reached out to somebody, and they didn't get back to me, and I would just let them know that I had questions from the department, and if they weren't getting back to me, then I could possibly just reach out to the vendor with my questions.
Thank you. Yep.
Scott, what steps would you take to ensure that the town is getting the best value for its purchases?
I think, one thing that we kind of worked on when I was in Stoughton was kind of like a purchasing department. You know what I mean? Like one role where they could get, I always go back to office supplies, but some people, if people are buying a thing of paper here and a thing of paper there, well, why not have one department that can just, buy a skid of paper, put it in the basement, and, you're saving money and you're getting what everybody needs. So just having a general purchasing department is something, and making sure that people are following the rules and going out and getting quotes. And, if you see something that, maybe you think there could be a better value on it, then just reach back out to them and say, why don't we, let's just make sure, even if it is, under $10,000 and they don't need quotes, maybe it's just better just to see what's out there before you pull the final purchase on something.
Thank you.
Scott, a required Schedule A has to be completed soon after the end of the fiscal year, which is June. What steps would you take to ensure that this schedule is completely timely and that it is accurate?
I'd like to make sure that when we close the year on time, and make sure that not wait until the end of the year to make sure that the numbers we have going forward are accurate. I like to check things, monthly, run reports, make sure what we have building up to year end is accurate, so that once we get to the year end, we have some comfort level that what's in there is being reported and is factually correct.
Thanks.
I think we're coming to the end of the predetermined questions here, Scott, so thank you for your participation. Maybe just to wrap up, what attracts you to a career in public service, maybe versus private?
I really enjoy helping people out. Like I said, I'm a volunteer hockey coach, volunteer soccer coach. Through the years of my oldest son playing hockey, I know a lot of people in this community. We have a lot of friends that live in Marshfield, and I think it helps me. A lot of people come to me with questions, even other towns. People I know other towns, this is our tax rate, why is it this? I know people like to compare tax rates for different towns, but it's virtually impossible because there's so many different things going on, which I like to explain to them that, it's not just one thing. You really, I participate in town meeting at home. I'm always trying to get involved and make sure, I just enjoy this line of work and helping people out and just seeing, especially in the accounting role, if you can save money in the town, you can get that tax rate down a little bit, everybody appreciates that. And they probably don't even know what you did to do that, but I'm sure everybody, they'll appreciate it one way or another.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, so do you have any questions for us? Thank you.
I don't think I really have. Is there anything, with a new person coming in, is there anything that, the board sees that maybe that they would like change within the accounting department? Is there anything in the finance department that they would like to see done differently or anything? I think with someone new coming in, I don't know if it's something, sometimes that's a better opportunity to make changes or do anything like that.
I think for me, my personal answer to that would be, I think it's always about looking for efficiencies and ways to do your job better. I mean, there's always room for improvement in every role, in my opinion. And also being communicative and team player and coming in with fresh eyes, but also if it isn't broke, don't fix it, right?
Absolutely, yep.
I think it's important to listen at the beginning and kind of understand what the opportunities are to help make things better, and then have a plan to do that.
Great.
So that's my personal answer.
Absolutely.
Would be bring that kind of fresh eyes to the table, and a lot of times, like you said, I think you would be walking into a pretty good situation.
Absolutely.
Our former town accountant was very, very good, and I think you would be able to piggyback on that goodness and bring something good to the table maybe. So.
And that's something great, because I've stepped into, roles in both kind of situations, where you jump in and you're cleaning up a mess, or you jump in and, things are ready to roll, which I prefer the latter on that one, so.
Yeah, who doesn't, right?
Yeah, but I'm open to both.
Do you have any other questions for that?
No
On
questions.
that?
No, I thought you framed it perfectly.
Perfectly. Anything else?
No, nothing. And I just want to thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to be here.
All right, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
Come in.
interest.
Appreciate it.
All right, so we'll move to the discussion, our action items. So the first item is discussion and vote on the appointment of a town accountant. We've interviewed two, I think, pretty strong candidates. I'd be open to any conversation about which candidate you feel is the better hire or the stronger candidate to come to town.
Yeah, I think they, both had strong resumes and good experience both on the public and private sector side. And obviously, I think Lakeville, kind of the size and scope of their budget is pretty comparable to ours, and there's a lot of similarities in that sense. And, it seems like maybe, Ann would, seems like would be committed to staying here for a long period of time, hopefully, as well. There seems to be a lot of kind of movement and bouncing around with Scott, but he certainly has plenty of great applicable experience as well, so both good candidates.
Yeah. Mr. Cookman?
Yes, I'd like to build on Selectman Darcy's comments. I think both, as you say, can do a good job. I think it's a compliment to the hiring and screening team. So, Michael and Danielle, thank you very much for bringing these two candidates in front of us. I felt the same thing when I did the CV review of Scott's, that there's a fair amount of movement, and one thing I think is the difference between private and public is public needs more consistency, where the private is more geared towards quicker turnover and we need some more longevity. So I think I would support exactly what you're saying, Select Board Member Darcy. And I'll turn that over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I mean, there was, again, I think I agree with both of you that, it's nice when our town administrator and Danielle, I know you're not on camera, but bring us two solid candidates, which means our initial interview process was good, and you brought us the best, brought us two of the best. There's like I've been weighing both of them as they've interviewed. Obviously, Scott's experience with Munis is a huge plus because it's going to be new, and he's obviously used it in two different municipalities. But I do agree that without knowing, it seems that he jumped around a little bit. Although in this day and age, 3 years or 4 years is not really.
It's not a killer.
Jumping around too much. You can look at my resume.
like
Everyone would think I've jumped around a lot, and I do jump around. Let's start playing that song. No, but I do agree that there's some strength strength in Ann's background that seems pretty strong. I guess one of my questions is, I hope I can ask this, but she lives in Falmouth. Is she planning to commute from Falmouth?
Yeah, it's from Falmouth to here, it's under an hour.
It is.
40 minutes without traffic.
It is. It's just, I know personally, as somebody who's commuted to the city of many, many years, you have to really, it does affect, I don't know, my personal opinion is anything over 30, 40 minutes becomes the grind a little bit. But we can see, if that's an issue, I don't, for me, it just, Falmouth is down there a little bit. But I just wanted to ask about that, so who knows? They may end up moving, if we go that direction and go that way, so. Okay. So I'll make a motion then to appoint Elizabeth Ann, I think we're all on the same page here, but I just want to make sure I get this right. Elizabeth Ann Bastille as the town accountant, subject to a background check and financial check.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So congratulations to Mrs. Bastille, and best of luck to Scott. I think they were both solid candidates.
They both represented themselves very well.
Very well. All right, so we'll go to our next action item, which is discuss and vote on application for one-day all alcohol license for Family Crest Catering. I believe Mr. Crest is requesting this for an event to be held at the Daniel Webster Estate on October the 16th. It's a fundraiser for the Marshfield Animal Shelter. It's actually this coming Saturday, and for 130 guests. And they were providing an all-alcohol cash bar. I have no questions on this. It's a worthy, very worthy organization, so.
No questions.
Questions?
I will be one of the 130 guests.
I will as well. So I bet Steve could be there as well.
My guess is yes.
We all like animals. We're all
You're
animals.
going to, we're all going.
4 of us already.
My wife. So that's 5. So I'll make a motion.
I'm a yes.
I'll make a motion to approve a one-day all-alcohol liquor license for the Family Crest Catering for a fundraiser for the Marshfield Animal Shelter to be held at the Daniel Webster Estate on October 16th, 2021, from 6 to 11 p.m. This is pending approval from the Marshfield Police Department, Fire Department, Building Department, and the Board of Health.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Next is discussion and vote on request for permission to accept donations for the Veterans Services. I believe there is 2 donations totaling $1,500. The first is a $1,000 donation from the Disabled American Veteran Auxiliary Organization. And the second is a $500 donation from a resident who prefers to remain anonymous to the public. These donations will be used to assist our veterans and their families in a time of need. I think these are very generous donations, and I have no questions.
No questions.
So I will make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
could just, there's one other one that was added.
Sorry, so it's
I
$2,500.
apologize. It's $1,000 from Town Fair Tire.
Oh, yes, I saw that. That's right.
I did see that, I'm sorry I
Yep.
missed that.
Nope, I missed
It was
it.
added late. So I would like to, publicly thank, and I'm sure all of us, would like to publicly thank
was very
Business Town
generous.
Fair Tire for their $1,000 donation from their foundation.
Yep.
I believe.
Nice letter, too.
It's a very nice letter.
Yep.
From them, and so the whole total amount would be $2,500, correct? So the Board of Selectmen moves to accept 2 donations for the Marshfield Veterans, 3 donations, sorry, I'm losing it. 3 donations for the Marshfield Veterans Service or Office for their gift account. 1 from the DAV Auxiliary in the amount of $1,000 and $500 from a resident who prefers to be anonymous, and an additional $1,000 from Town Fair Tire.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is discussion vote on request for permission to accept donation Council on Aging. We received a formal request from Carol Hamilton, the Director of the Council on Aging, to accept a gift from the Council on Aging Boosters, Inc. for the Council on Aging in the amount of $18,983.94 for paint and carpet for the original portion of the senior center. This work will substantially upgrade the carpet, which is 19 years old, along with a fresh coat of paint to a few of the interior areas, which will bring the two buildings into closer alignment. As everyone knows, we have a brand-new addition, so I believe it'll keep things a little more consistent across the board, and this is excellent. So, and then we also, I believe...
Mr. Chairman, if I could just jump in to further...
Yes, sir.
Offer some, so the reason that we need to do this, so with the capital money, as you were starting to say, was for the new portion, with the caveat that we're able to cover the new rug onto the center island. Anyone that's ever been there, that long corridor, we're paying with the capital funds because that was all disturbed, walls were moved and taken down, so to do it, and the Council on Aging wants to do some of the meeting rooms off the right and the left, and because those aren't part of the project, they have to use their own upkeep money, and the boosters are kicking in, so that's why this article's here. And I thought it'd be important to mention that, because people at home will say, hey, wait a second, we voted, but capital funds can only be used on the actual capital project, which is the 12,000 square foot addition, with some modifications on the main thoroughfare rug, which is the hallway that adjoins the new hallway.
Right.
And that goes for the painting and the rug for there. Anything other than that has to be paid for with the Council on Aging, upkeep money, or the boosters.
Right, because it's not, this is not permanent fixture, which is not part of capital.
Right.
So, okay, so any questions?
No
on
questions.
this?
No significant donation, no.
Okay, so the Board of Selectmen moves to ratify, the Board of Selectmen moves to accept a gift from the Council on Aging Boosters, Inc. to the Council on Aging in the amount of $18,983.94 for painting and carpet for some of the interior areas of the original portion of the senior center.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is discussion and vote on ratification of the clerical union contract. Would you like to
Yes,
comment on
thank you,
this,
Mr. Chairman. I'll jump in. So we were able to settle once again with one of our last remaining unions. There's one after this, supervisory, and then we will have settled with all of our unions. Very similar package on the clerical. They're getting a 7% over 3 years, 2% in year 1, 3% in year 2, and 2% in year 3. We've made some housekeeping on some hour changes. We've updated the language on death and the family, to mirror what we do for the bylaw and some of our other unions so that everything is the same, everyone gets the same. And we've also added some bulletin boards. They wanted to be able to have bulletin boards in certain areas. And we also have leave. We've added parental leave in there, some language, so they were very happy with that. And the great thing about that is because we have and we offer parental leave, makes us very competitive about attracting young people that want to come to work here, because as we know, parental leave would be either for male or female, or two of the same parents. Yep.
No, that's excellent. And I also noticed that we added an additional holiday, Juneteenth, to the list of
That
paid
is
holidays
correct.
from 12
Yes.
to 13 as well. So, excellent work.
And this is all funded within the budget because we set aside 2% every year.
Excellent. So, great work. I have no other questions.
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, so the Board of Selectmen moves to ratify the MOU by and between the Town of Marshfield and the AFSCME Council 93 Local 1700 Clerical Union Contract, reflecting the dates of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up is discussion and vote on application for annual peddler's license for Nathan Cohen. Mr. Cohen has a food truck, Wanderlust Brothers Food Truck. He plans on operating at Stellwagen Brewing and other events with permission of event organizer or an invitation of organizer. It looks like they also, they're doing an event, temporary event dates of 12th and the 19th. They have all their, so we just need to make sure that they have approval from, I guess Board of Health is good, right?
MSD, Board of
Yeah,
Health, and payment on property taxes.
Yes. Yes. We do have MPD,
Correct.
so I have no questions on this.
No questions.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so the Board of Selectmen moves to approve an annual peddler's license for Nathan Cohen for Wanderlust Brothers Food Truck LLC, pending approval from the Marshville Fire Department, the Board of Health, and payment of property taxes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, discussion and vote on application for one-day common victual license for Sue Loopy. This is Aroma LLC. This is this is another food truck with operation at Stellwagen on 10/24. And it looks like we just need to approve them pending approval from MFD, MPD, and Building Department. Any questions?
No.
No questions,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Board of Selectmen moves to approve a common victualler license for Sue Loopy Aroma for October 24th, 2021 at Stellwagen from 11:30 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. pending approval from the Marshville Police Department, Fire Department, and the Building Department. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up is discussion and vote on application for one-day wine and malt license, which for Carlton Chandler. This is for the Marshville Agriculture and Horticulture Society for October 24th. There's an event, it's the Plymouth County Highway Annual Outing from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the fairgrounds. I have no questions on this.
No questions.
No questions, Mr. Chairman?
So the Board of Selectmen moves to approve a one-day liquor license for Carlton Chandler, Marshville Agriculture and Horticultural Society for October 24th, 2021 at the Marshville Fairgrounds located at 140 Main Street for the Plymouth County Highway Annual Outing from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. pending approval from the Marshville Police Department, Fire Department, Board of Health, and the Building Department.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Next, discussion and vote on request to increase property tax relief hourly rate. Mr. Moresco,
And this is just to be consistent with the new rate increase for the minimum wage, so they want it to be competitive, so they're raising it from $13.50 to $14.25.
is it, I'm assuming this isn't it's budgeted?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh, and they also, that's a separate item.
Second, yeah.
Okay, great. I have no questions on this.
No questions.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Board of Selectmen moves to approve the hourly increase for the property tax relief workers from $13.50 to $14.25 per hour, effective January 1st, 2021. This is to be consistent with the increase in the minimum wage for 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next up is discussion and vote on change to membership of Council on Aging Board. They would like to, they have requested, unanimously voted and requested that they can reduce the number of members of their board from 9 members to 7 members. This is due to, it's just to make the board more efficient and be able to attract the best candidates and have a better opportunity to have quorum. No issues with this.
No issues.
Any issues?
I don't either. Just make a quick comment, if I may, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
absolutely.
We're always looking for members, right, Mr.
Yeah, that's true.
Moresco?
Absolutely.
To serve on our boards. We have a significant amount of vacancies. We have a total, believe it or not, 21 vacancies in the town. So anyone out there, we've got a menagerie of different partnerships, commissions, committees that you can serve on. And it is difficult I can't even imagine trying to get 9. So 7 is a very workable board. So anyone out there, we have plenty of places where you're able to serve the town.
Absolutely. And
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, and I'll just say personally, if anybody wants to talk with me about any of these positions, I'm assuming that they could call you guys too, but
Absolutely.
I don't want to speak for you. Feel free, and obviously Town Hall as well. So to find out more, some boards obviously have larger commitments, and some are great ways to get involved in the town for not a heavy load.
And they're all fun.
They're all fun.
They're all fun.
And, Mr. Chairman, they can check the Selectmen's website for the vacancies.
Absolutely. Please do. All right, so the Board of Selectmen moves to support the unanimous recommendation of the Council on Aging Board to reduce their membership on the Council on Aging Board from 9 members to 7 members.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, discussion and vote on CARES Act funding submittal form, $725,000. Mr. Moresco?
So, Mr. Chairman, so we're in the process, we've been approved by Plymouth County for up to $725,000, so we're in the process of putting the application together. The deadline is prior to our next meeting, so we asked the board to approve up to $725,000 CARES Act.
Makes sense to me. Any questions?
No.
Questions?
And this, could you explain to the public, Mr. Marisco, how this money may be used?
So this is reimbursement, so we have to spend the money first, so we use it on things that are COVID-related. We've spent a lot on. We've bought ambulances. Most recently, we've purchased 2 ambulances over the last 2 years with CARES Act fund because we've had to transport so many people with COVID. We have also supplies for the clinic, hours, the overtime for the fire department, for the clinic, things like that are covered. We've also did the GATRA bus because it was very important with people not being able to go to the senior center while the buildings were closed. It was imperative that our seniors be able to get to the pharmacies, be able to pick up their food, get medication. So we use money to buy the GATRA bus, an additional GATRA bus. So we've done really well. To date, I think we've spent about $3.4 million of CARES Act money through Plymouth County. They've been great. They had $90 million, and, we'll spend this money and we'll be close to a little over $4 million of reimbursement at no cost to our tax base or to our taxpayers.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Marisco. I mean, it's a really good job that's been done. A lot of money has been spent, the money's out there. We might as well take advantage of it for our town. And I just want to highlight the good job that you had done in providing support for our citizens through the CARES Act. Thank you, Mr. Minister.
Thank you. It's been a real team approach by everyone, including the support from the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, so the Board of Selectmen moves to support the submittal of the CARES Act application for funding to Plymouth County for the amount of $725,000.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the next item is discussion and vote on naming authorized representative and authorized reporter preparer for the Plymouth County ARPA funding, which is the American Rescue and what's P? I forget P. Let's call it ARPA.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
It's the next round of federal funding.
Federal
funding. That the county is administering, Mr. Chairman, if I may. So
Please.
They hired the law firm Mintz Levin, Bob Popio's law firm, big downtown firm.
Yes.
And they're very particular about the various motions. So in order for us to engage and start using, a lot of ARPA funds are geared towards construction projects, in particular things with water, sewer, water mains, etc. And we'll be coming back before the board with a number of projects in order to get us in the queue and get us ready to be able to submit ARPA funds. We need the board to take these 2 votes. One is authorizing an individual to approve and finalize and submit on behalf of the town, which would be the town administrator. The other would be our interim treasurer collector, Joe Fleming, is authorized to prepare and enter the information into the Plymouth County American Rescue Plan portal. Plan is what the P stood for.
I just saw.
We got it.
So those 2 votes, they need the Board of Selectmen to take, and then I have to take a copy of the minutes, and I submit that with the names and our federal financial numbers to the Plymouth County ARPA folks.
Okay, great. Thanks for that explanation. Any questions?
No.
Questions?
No, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
So do we need to take these as 2 separate votes?
2 separate votes,
Okay,
yes.
great.
And I've had the language I put in.
Yeah. So the Board of Selectmen moves to approve the names of the town of Marshfield's authorized ARPA personnel. First vote would be that Michael A. Moresco, Town Administrator, is authorized to approve, finalize, and submit on behalf of the town any such ARPA grant application and to make all representations and certifications required to be made on behalf of the town to complete each application, with such approval, representations, and certifications to be evidenced by the signature of Michael A. Moresco, Town Administrator, on such application, and if any such ARPA grant is awarded, Michael A. Moresco, Town Administrator, shall be the recipient of such grant on behalf of the town.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is the Board of Selectmen moves to approve Joseph Fleming, interim treasurer collector, be authorized to prepare and enter information into the Plymouth County American Rescue Plan portal in support of one or more applications to Plymouth County for grants, which is ARPA grants, to be funded from a grant received by Plymouth County under the American Rescue Plan Act.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, just so the board knows, so as we assemble those applications, I will present those as an action item. I'll come before, make a presentation, tell you a little bit about the program and the amount of money that we're requesting on behalf of the town.
Thank you.
And the board votes.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next is vote to accept minutes of September the 2nd, 2021, September 13th, 2021, and September 27th, 2021. Do we have signatures?
Second.
So I'll make a motion to vote to accept these minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Steve jumped. All right, that ends the public meeting. The Board of Selectmen moves to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation that, if discussed in open session, could have a negative impact on the negotiating position of the town, not to return to public session. We need to take a roll call vote.
Yes. So we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kilcoyne?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to go into executive session, not to return to public session.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.